What's up, everyone? How you doing? How's it going? I wish everybody would have a great Saturday. That's when we record. And welcome to another episode of Gonna See My Friends, the podcast where we just kick it, talk about old movies, new movies that touched us in some way, maybe in a bad way, but nonetheless touched us, like old Uncle
Uncle Touchy,
G.
good
Secret
morning.
Garden.
Yeah, the Magic Secret Garden. Good morning, Stephen. It
How you
is
doing,
a very
Toby?
it's a beautiful Saturday morning. A little foggy out here in the old Sonoma County.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm looking forwd to this. We lost a great one this week. Robert Redford passed away.
Yes.
And the way that we would like to honor him today is I believe it's both of our favorite Robert Redford movies.
Yeah, I would. It's up there for me.
Okay,
Yeah, definitely.
it's top two
Yeah. Yes.
because you love The Sting, and to be honest, I don't know that I've ever watched The Sting all the way through, but that's
Oh,
neither here nor there. Today we are going to talk about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, 1969 buddy film, if you want to call it a buddy film. The first time that Paul Newman and Robert Redford will pair up together. They go on and they're both in The Sting after this. Your favorite. I'm speaking for you here.
he's just shooting shots, and
Yes.
it's his third favorite, right?
Yeah,
Third.
yes. It's probably seventh favorite. It would be on your desert island top five Robert Redford movies. Yes?
Oh, for sure,
Very good.
absolutely. It's kind of like I came to him late. My first movie with him was The Natural, so obviously that's gonna be kind of probably my favorite, only because of nostalgic reasons, and it's something a movie that I revisit constantly. And
Really?
we're probably we should do it on this. Gonna See My Friends. Yeah.
100%. 100%. Great
Pitts.
baseball film. I mean, just weeping uncontrollably at the end.
Well, yeah, it's very I just identify with it so much. The wasted potential, so to speak, or the
Oh,
missed
wow.
opportunities and
Okay.
those kinds of themes that run through that movie. But yeah, and then, I'm a big sneakers guy. I like
Yes.
sneakers. But once I hit sneakers age, right?
Mhm.
I kind of went back into his filmography and discovered this movie, The Sting, and discovered just what kind of a heavyweight he was, and how I think nowadays I think he gets compared, or Brad Pitt gets compared to him a lot, and I in this movie I see it a lot. I mean, I see a lot of I wouldn't say mannerisms, but I can see I there's certain shots in this movie, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid,
Right.
that I can see Brad Pitt, like, oh my god, I could see him doing that right there. That scene, that choice that Redford's making in this, I could see, and and then it's, I don't know, it's just a great. This movie is a great movie. It kind of opened the gates to the kind of new Hollywood that happened around this time. A decade under the influence. I was recommending that to you, and
Yes.
this was kind of like the for one of the movies that kind of kicked off that stampede, I guess what you would say, of movies that kind of highlighted different things that audiences weren't really accustomed to seeing, and kind of subverting expectations in a lot, especially in the Western genre. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And the Western genre was kind of going away. This is like we said, 1969, September 1969. It's the post Summer of Love, and this is you've brought up the themes of zig and zag. This movie zags.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not like any other Western. They didn't know what this was going to be when it was
Yeah.
is this a comedy? Is it a
Right.
Western? Is
Yeah.
it's, I don't think it's either of those things. It's in a class all of its own.
Yeah, I mean, I think it encompasses both. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously that you have this. I think we both, like what we said pre-show, was like we both kind of did the same deep dive in this, and it's such a great rich kind of lots of what do you call it? Lots of stories about how this was made, and but I mean, you have like a western essentially where the stars are or the main characters are running from the law. You know, they're running from something where, of course, I think one of the big things, especially the producers of this movie were, and the audiences were too, were used to the John Wayne kind of hero western, where the hero comes in and cleans up, and
That's right.
you know,
They walk into danger. These guys are running away from the
yeah,
danger
right,
for
yeah.
most of the movie.
Yeah, and I think that that sets a realistic kind of feel for this movie because I feel like when you have a posse coming running after you, you know, especially the kind of characters that William Goldman kind of the writer kind of
Yes,
created in this movie, like he grounds it in reality. He grounds it in the kind of I don't know. A Newman is kind of like this. He's got a heart of gold, basically, right? He's a kind of a empathetic kind of character who's kind of put into this kind of situation in the old West where you have to really kind of eke out your own existence, right? And so, you know, he's our age and he's probably, you know, just knows how to rob trains and banks and all this kind of other stuff.
that's right.
And when a posse comes after you, you're not gonna, you know, he had, like he said, he says late in the movie, like I've never shot anybody before. It's like, you know, for someone that kind of gets by with his ingenuity and not really necessarily with his gun. I mean, he uses his gun, but it's kind of like well, what else are you gonna do when someone's after you? You're gonna run, you know. So yeah,
They were different kind of Western outlaws. This isn't Billy the Kid
right.
and blowing people away. Like you mentioned, Butch tells Sundance, "I've never shot anybody. You picked a hell of a
Hell of a
time
time to
time to tell me this." Then they've been on the run for an hour and a half of the film. I think also that the director George Roy Hill, his brilliance of he hadn't directed anything of this scope before this. I was looking at
Yeah,
his
he's a TV guy,
resume.
wasn't he, or something? Yeah,
I think so.
yeah,
And his film his work before this wasn't super highly rated. I don't know that I recognized anything. I recognized a lot of things after this movie, but he was working so much with William Goldman, who wrote the movie, and what they allowed these two characters to do is just they just let it breathe.
yeah.
There's so
Great
much
point.
there
Yes,
are full 5-10 minute scenes where nobody's saying anything. They're just, show me, don't tell me
right, right.
is another theme that you've brought up in the past, and they do it so well. Sundance, I think Robert Redford's character is doesn't have to say a whole lot. He lets he lets his presence do the acting, and for someone who hadn't been in a major motion picture before this one as the new guy,
Yeah.
they had to rewrite. They filmed, just going back, they shot trailers for the movie with the idea that it was going to be Paul Newman and Steve McQueen.
Oh yeah.
Then they shot a trailer where it was Paul Newman and Marlon Brando. And those guys, it was supposed to be two big stars.
Right.
And
Yeah.
when both of those guys and Warren Beatty was up for the role at one point, they're like, "Who are the biggest? We need these two big stars, and it's just going to be these two guys are just going to be playing off each other the whole time." And when Redford comes in, and 20th Century Fox did not want Redford to
No,
be this
nobody
role.
did. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, George Roy Hill did, and William Goldman did, and it starts out with just the opening scene where he says one word in the opening scene, and it's his
Prayers.
act. I don't. He doesn't blink
Yeah.
in that the open where we meet Sundance in the over the shoulder shot, and they're playing cards, and he's dealing cards, and he just lets his eyes do all the work. It's masterful. It's breathtaking to me, and it's shot in that kind of burnt sienna.
Sepia. Yeah.
Is it sepia? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, it was a. Oh man, I don't have
Excuse me.
the cinematographer.
Oh, I didn't write that down either.
Yeah, damn it. But he has this kind of the way that he filmed this was kind of groundbreaking in and of itself, because I think at the time it was only filmed the way he filmed it, and the way he lenses he uses and everything was usually just in noir and kind of dramas. And here he applies this to western, which to great effect too, because it's just one of the more beautifully shot movies. And I think to your point about the pacing of this is that I think up until this time that it wasn't. I mean, I think the audiences of today, I think when you introduce this movie to them, it's probably going to be a little wonky in terms of pacing, because films aren't paced like this anymore. There's, like
No.
you said, it's allowed to breathe. You have these long kind of close up but long shots that are uninterrupted. Basically a lot of it is the terrain, and so it takes getting used to if you've never seen a movie like this before. But I think this is where, for me, I think this is where I kind of started to realize this, and The Godfather and all these other movies of the great movies of the '70s and late '60s. It's like you start to realize that there's a story being told here, and it's not just words, and it's not just big action pieces, but it's also these quiet moments. The mise en scene, of what you're capturing in the frame. And so, I mean, you introduce all these elements now, and I think this was such a great time in Hollywood, because you had these kind of new owners of these studios, and they're just saying, here's your money, go make your movie.
Right.
And you can actually kind of see it in this. And like I said in the beginning, it's almost, this was kind of like one of the movies that ushered in this new era. And so even at the time, people were like you were saying, is this a comedy? Is this a western? Is this is there violence in this? And
Hmm.
surprisingly, the violence it's not too violent. There's some violent scenes, but I think, yeah, this was just a new era for movie making. And it's, when I watched this week, it was such a kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was more of like a feeling of an old friend, seeing an old friend that you haven't seen in a while. And it was, oh man, yeah, like, I don't know if it was the innocence of maybe doing a movie, filming a movie in a new way or something, but it was just those times, man, were just kind of, I was watching this thing with George Roy Hill, and he said he didn't want to use the camera just to kind of make a flashy shot. He needed to make the shot, and then whatever came out of that shot, if it was flashy, then he would use it. But he didn't want to use the camera as anything but just telling the story. And I think he did it wonderfully.
Well, when you have a backdrop, excuse me, like Monument Valley, Utah,
Right.
I mean, so the concern was that if you're going to film a western, westerns up at until that point were low budget, and low budget meaning you had to go to Italy to do it. That's why they called them the spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
If
Right.
you filmed a western here in the US, it was hugely expensive
Yeah.
because you've got a limited time during the day. You only have so much light. The budget was $6 million in 1969. Ready for this? $6 million is equivalent to $56 million today.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me. However, it pays off because it grosses $102 million at the box office, which is close to $1 billion by today's standards. The actors weren't sure this was going to work. Robert Redford said he wasn't sure it was going to work. He said, "Why is raindrops keep falling on my head in this scene where there's like a music video halfway?" He's like, "I don't get it. I don't think it's going to work." The critics didn't think it was going to work, but the audience is kept back every week to the tune of $102 million in 1969.
Well,
Everyone was
yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
audience was right.
well, I mean, I think this is the time too before VHS, so or streaming. So you can't just watch it and go, "Oh, I can't wait for it to come out on TV," because you're gonna have to wait years probably for that to happen. So you have to go back and you have to watch. I mean, and it was one of those movies where they did that. People loved this movie. I think George Roy Hill at the beginning, he said he was so disappointed in the opening week in reactions, because he was quoted as saying, they're laughing at my misery, or they're laughing at the tragedy of my tragic film. They're laughing at it. And it just didn't, he didn't understand that like there was that balance, because at the time too, the humor in this movie wasn't main. You didn't have humor like, it's almost like a modern humor sensibility, right? So it's
Yes.
like you didn't have that. So they were seeing something new, and they were reacting to it. So I think, over time, it's kind of shown him that that this was a great movie, and eventually, I think he realized that. But I think in the initially, he was so disappointed because he thought he had failed, But I think it just, the humor in it strikes a really good balance and it's grounded too in the situations that they're in. They're not just doing like slapstick humor or physical comedy or anything like that, but it's such a great, it's just like adding some seasoning to an already great script, and I think the performances too helped that. That Newman and Redford really got along, and this is where they met, this movie, and then
Right.
they became lifelong friends after this. So it's
If
such a
you did,
yeah.
if you didn't know that, sorry to interrupt you. If
No,
you didn't
go ahead.
know that, these two characters, Butch and Sundance, you don't have to be told this is where they met, and nobody has to like. There isn't some story where two guys are telling the tale of how they met. We don't get no backstory. We don't need the backstory. We can make it up for ourselves.
Yeah,
And the way they interact with each other is they bicker like they've been married to each other for like 50 years. And they met on this set.
yeah,
I mean, you don't how you capture magic in a bottle like that. And then, like you said, George Roy Hill's like, man, people aren't getting this. And then, as word of mouth goes around the world, $100 million in 1969. People just kept coming back to the theater
yeah,
every single week, and there's like, I guess, wow, okay. I mean, it's like they stumbled across what would okay. So George Roy Hill after this would direct The Sting,
yeah.
Slapshot, and Funny Farm. Okay.
And The World According to Garp, which I love that
And The
movie.
World According to Garp.
Have you seen that
That's
movie?
right. Yes,
Yeah,
I think I've seen it once. Great Robin
yeah,
Williams.
yeah. That
Yeah,
was an
we should look at that
Yeah.
one
Oh,
again.
definitely. That was a early cable movie for me, HBO.
Okay,
So that came out in 82, World According to Garp, and I remember watching that on cable, because back then you just had a handful of movies that they would just play all the time. It wasn't now like where you have to like wait a week for it to come back again or something like that. Back in those days, in the early days of cable, it was like you had 5 movies and they just played those movies. Anyways,
right.
but I remember seeing that movie a lot and just being, that was, I think, the first serious movie that I saw, I think maybe on TV or something, but that I didn't really understand what was going on, but I just thought it was so compelling, and especially the ending of that. And the book was great too. I read the book, and it's such a great adaptation of it. But yeah, I mean, George Roy Hill, I mean, he's kind of, he does. He works with Redford and Newman again in Slapshot,
Right.
The Great Waldo Pepper, Slaughterhouse Five. He does in '72,
That's right.
and he has this kind of uncanny ability to kind of take these kind of weird themes and just make them relatable. I mean, these movies aren't like the best movies ever, but they're pretty good. And it's like the relatability for me is what really kind of draws me to his films.
The generational staying power. We're not born yet when this movie comes out.
No.
And I feel like I've known these characters forever.
Yeah.
I love both of them. I
Yeah.
believe them.
Yeah.
They're very believable. And every time you watch it, you see something that you didn't see before. There's a character
Yeah.
that you never really paid attention to. I always kind of saw this. My dad introduced me to this movie, very probably early 80s, where he would show us Hitchcock movies. He was like, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you guys movies that normally you would never see.
You're gonna be cultured, damn it.
That's exactly right. And we would go to the video store and rent a movie, and I'm watching this kicking and screaming, right, as a
Yeah.
13, 14
Yeah.
year old. And Troy is 8 or 9, and he's like, he had zero say in what's gonna happen, right? The three of us, the three Ballinger boys,
You're all
and I just remember my dad driving back from the video store and going, "Who are those guys?" But I mean, we haven't even taken the tape out of the thing yet, and he's just repeating this line over and over again. Who are those guys? And I'm like, okay, okay, Dad. And so I'm very connected to my father when I watch this movie. It's real. He was right.
yeah.
He's like, you might not appreciate it at 13, but wait till you're 52 and you're gonna break it down on your podcast. I mean, it's like the time traveling part of it, like that you're not thinking fourth dimensionally, Toby,
Right. Yeah.
right? And so yeah, God, yeah, music. Burt Bacharach is the does the score of this movie, and again writes an original piece of "Raindrops Keep Falling." We grew up with "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head." Did you know
Yeah.
that it was from this movie?
No. And
Yeah,
the whole thing with the soundtrack of this movie, which has like about 13 minutes of and a 2-hour film has 13 minutes of music in it. And whatever, like 3 minutes of it or 4 minutes of it is this song.
right.
And I remember doing the deep dive on this and everybody, Redford and Newman just thought, oh, when this scene came up, they were like, what's this scene doing here?
What
This
the
is
hell's going
yeah,
on?
this is gonna tank the movie.
Yeah,
And fortunately they were wrong, but I think for me that scene kind of illustrates the last kind of hurrah of their kind of the life as they knew it, right? So
right.
this is kind of like the last thing where they have a good time. They spend the rest of the movie after this just running, and you can
Well, yeah,
go ahead, go ahead.
the old world is dying, right? Here's his
Right.
bicycle.
Yeah, right, right. It's this introduction of this new kind of this new thing and this new kind
Mode,
of
you don't have
era.
to water your horses. You can get
Yeah.
on this bicycle and ride around.
Yeah. And
And
that's what they say too. Sorry to cut you up, but it was
no,
like
yeah, no,
I
please.
think when that scene when they go to the sheriff,
Oh God,
and the sheriff's like,
it's my favorite scene in the whole
yeah,
movie.
and the sheriff is like, look, man, you're like one of the nicest guys I've ever known, Redford. You're like one of the fastest guys I've ever known, but you guys are crooks, and your time is over,
Yeah,
and
you're two-bit
you're dead.
outlaws on the Dodge.
Yeah, and your time is done. You just have to. You're gonna die. You just have to figure out where.
Oh,
And
it's
that's
so
essentially
heartbreaking.
it. Is
It's like
that
yes, it's like
just
Shakespearean.
in any stage of your life, if you hear that, not necessarily your life is gone, but just a certain segment of your life. I've heard it all my life. This is done for you. This is done. And everybody hears it at one point or another, and that's a hard pill to swallow too. So,
I got goosebumps when you brought that up because I can't wait to talk about. We could do a whole podcast on just that scene
uh huh,
with Jeff Corey, who plays Sheriff Ray Bledsoe.
right.
By the way, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now, he is my Clay Thompson Award winner of this movie because everything he says is true. He
Yeah,
tells these guys, he's basically a fortune teller. And the way his interact, he's the sheriff. These guys are outlaws on two-bit outlaws on the Dodge. And when he comes, I thought we agreed you'd never come back into my territory. Well, you at least have the decency to pull your gun. Like he like start. I mean, you're like, what is going on, right? It's the cops and robbers relationship.
yeah,
He's like, well, now you got to tie me up, and if anybody saw you come in here, I can't help you guys, so
right,
I
right.
will, but you got to at least, gag me and strap me to the chair and all that. Just that part of it, and then everything he says to them is true.
Yeah, yeah,
He tells them the end of the movie.
yeah, yeah. Basically, and I think that's kind of the beginning of the end. I mean, it was
Hmm.
kind of started before, but you kind of get it cemented in that scene of like, okay, well, and at the beginning, Newman's like, I got this place, Bolivia. It's like California. Everybody's going to Bolivia. And yeah, it's sad. It's a great scene. I think William Goldman. Have you ever read Adventures in the Scream Trade by his book?
No.
he has two books. He has that one and then More Adventures in the Screenplay. It's just his book about him writing all these screenplays. It has the Princess Bride, when he wrote Princess Bride, and
He wrote The Princess Bride.
yeah, and so it's kind of like a tell all, and it's really good. It's really and for screenwriters, I mean, I read it when I lived at the Fair Street House.
Oh,
That's when I
nice.
got yeah, that's when I got it, and yeah, it's a great book. Should check
Oh,
it out.
that's okay. That's a nonfiction book.
Yeah.
Huh.
Huh.
You read a lot more nonfiction than I do.
Oh, really?
It's all, well, yeah. I mean, I think they'll. I mean, I read Stephen King's On Writing a couple times. That's a
I've read that
non.
too.
That's a non.
Yeah.
Right. It's a great for writers. Go ahead and jot that one down, guys. We do talk about a lot about Stephen King. We've done several Stephen King works on here. Go ahead and write that down. Yeah, this podcast brought to you by On Writing
Colon
by Stephen
blow.
K. Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
Oh
Yeah. Okay.
boy.
Well, let's talk about Newman. Let's talk about Newman and Redford.
Let's talk about Bob Newman. Can I call him Bob?
Bob
Bob Redford.
Redford.
Let's talk about Paul Newman. Both of these guys, by the way, are angels among us, right? They're
Yeah.
both huge activists. They gave all their money away. Very humble men, quiet guys, and wanted to give back
Hmm.
to the arts.
Yeah.
With Redford, of course, he goes on, and his namesake from this movie, Sundance, would start the Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah, which is about 20 north of where his property that he bought in 1961. He had been living out in Utah early on and had real connection to the land and the First Nations peoples and Utes and just but Paul, is there something that you wanted to say about? But we saw Paul in The Color of Money,
Yeah.
and he kind of channels Sundance in that he doesn't have to say a whole lot
Yeah.
in The Color of Money. I kind of connected those two where I was like, boy, he's almost like an older Sundance where he's gonna let the jokester kind of do his thing, and he's the
Trying to
wise old
corral him.
sage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your
Well, I
thoughts
mean,
on Paul Newman? Obviously, he starts Newman's Own, and
yeah.
all that was all just charitable. But
Well, I
please go
think
ahead.
he was, like you said before, he was kind of already a movie star when this movie starts to come about, right? He does Cat on a Hot Tin Roof in '58, The Hustler in '61, HUD, which is a personal favorite of mine, in '63, Cool Hand Luke in '67, and he's kind of established himself already, and so he kind of takes this on, which, going back to our opening statement of who was supposed to be in this, Jack Lemmon was originally supposed to be a Butch Cassidy, and
Right.
Newman was going to be Sundance. And so Jack Lemmon said he had already done things like this. He doesn't want to do this again. And then it goes to McQueen and Brando and all those people. But so he kind of shows up, and he's the grizzled old veteran on movie sets, right? And Redford comes in, and he's not yet a global name. He's known for his stage and TV work and a few really small films, but he's comes in with a reputation as a versatile young lead with clean looks and unexpected depth. Now he's done this in 65. I have a list here. Okay, he does Inside Daisy Clover, which I've never seen, but he gets the Golden Globe for most promising newcomer. The Chase in '66, an ensemble drama with Brando and Fonda, and then he does Barefoot in the Park, and that's kind of like his, because he's kind of known as this kind of comedy guy at the beginning, and then he does Downhill Racer, which is the same year as this movie. Comes out, I think, a month after or a couple weeks after this movie. And so, have you ever seen that one, Downhill Racer?
No, no.
That
Should
I
I?
saw that. It's a character study kind of movie.
Okay,
So
I'm into those.
yeah,
Those, yeah.
so this came out. I think I just saw this like a couple years ago. It was on HBO. I think it was like a random afternoon. And it's one of those movies. It's just about him, and he's this downhill racer, but he's from like Montana or something, somewhere where you
What's
don't
he
expect.
racing? A bike? A car?
He's a skier. He's a skier, snow ski, and
Okay,
so he's trying to get into the Olympics, trying to make it into the Olympics.
interesting. Okay,
And his coach is the guy. he just passed away last April, or this last April. He was in The Firm. He was Lex Luthor in Superman. What's his name? I keep wanting to
Oh,
say
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman. Yeah, Gene Hackman plays his coach, and they butt heads. And Redford kind of plays this brash, egotistical, kind of up and coming star. Dabney Coleman plays like an assistant coach in this. It's just
Love it. I'm
yeah,
watching this.
yeah. It's really lots of just lots of scenes. It's just him going down, down. The editing is really weird. It's really
Is
weird,
it?
but it's very it's not very kind of dialogue heavy. So it's just a lot of scenes of him like but yeah, it's a great movie. Anyways, yeah,
Just
so I
with
mean
that, is he doing all his own stunts? He probably is.
probably. I mean, you
I
heard the
mean,
story.
so
Go ahead.
he shot so many movies in Utah. I mean, his property is a ski resort,
Yeah.
Sundance,
Yeah.
Utah. So it would make sense that he's probably doing his own stunts. He did his own stunts in Butch Cassidy, jumping, running
Yeah.
along the top of the train. That's him.
Yeah, and Newman got pissed and was like, "Hey, don't do that." And Redford was like, "Why? I could do this. I can." He's like, "I just don't want to lose a co-star." And I was watching kind of the documentary on because I just bought the movie, and Redford was like, "Yeah, I think that," and looking back at now, I think he was right. It's just that youth got me. I was just the youth in me got to me, and so I kind of backed off after that. So
Okay.
yeah, that was an interesting tidbit. But yeah, this
I
was
didn't know who directed that.
who
Who
downhill
directed Downhill Skier or Downhill Racer?
downhill skier, I think it's called downhill racer. That's what it is. Let's see, downhill racer. Michael Ritchie stars Redford, Gene Hackman, and Camille Sparv. He wanted this was a hot script and he wanted it. Goldman, it was one of Goldman's scripts, and he's going to work with Goldman a lot in the next
Yeah.
couple years. But yeah, and the early drafts were called the Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy, the Outlaws, and
Hole in the Wall Gang.
Hole in the Wall Gang. Newman wanted to be the top billing on this because he was the first one to kind of sign on to this. McQueen came on and said, "How's the billing going to go? And how much money am I going to make? I need to make more than him." And that wasn't going to be the case. So he left. And in that times, those were the kind of ordinary conflicts that you had at the time,
Well, didn't
which
they
still
do that?
happens today.
And actually, you see on title cards now the way, and this they did this in the Inferno, the Towering
Towering
Inferno.
Inferno. Yeah.
It's Newman and McQueen, right? And the way they did it was McQueen wanted to be first billed, but they wanted Newman to be first billed. So what they settled on was one guy's name comes first, but the other guy's name's up higher. And now
Uh-huh.
sorry, I'm going to turn around for those
Yeah.
watching on the YouTubes. You see that now
Yeah.
where and that's because of this McQueen's ego.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it happens still today, which is kind of weird because you would think that people, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a thing or you get paid more. I have no idea, but I would just think, well, as long as my name's on somewhere in there, it's,
Anywhere, I'll be
yeah.
the gaffer. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, it could be like a agent thing of like, well, I have clients that have top billing, come
Yeah,
with
that
me.
could
It could
be.
be it. I don't know. I'm not in the what do you call it? I'm not in the system. But anyways, yeah.
The
So I
red
mean,
tape and the bureaucrats.
yeah. So Warren Beatty, Jack Lemmon, Marlon Brando. We already kind of read
Yep.
all this, but so Catherine Ross, who plays the love interest,
Etta Place.
yeah, she was the least liked by George. They did not get along on this film. I think the guy. I wish I wrote down his name. The cinematographer for this movie. Let me
Oh,
find
yeah.
this.
Go ahead and look it up.
Yeah.
It was filmed in Zion National Park in Utah,
Yeah.
and the Durango narrow gauge railroad is where the train scenes are filmed. Have you ever been to Durango, Colorado?
No, but I bet you have.
I
You worked
have.
there for a summer or something, right?
Yes. I was sent there for work, but yes.
And
I
so,
recommend it. Durango's a really cool town. That whole area is just
uh-huh.
beautiful. But yeah, I did work there. I was a paper boy in Durango, Colorado for 6 weeks.
We could be talking about like a sci-fi movie that takes place on Mars and be like, I worked on the satellite that actually
Yeah,
sent a.
I was moonlighting at the Sea of Tranquility for. Shut up.
I'm just joshing. The cinematographer is Conrad Hall. So he,
The Great Conrad Hall.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, good.
The one that was in Hollywood, Conrad Hall. Yeah, that
Ah,
one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But he was short a cameraman for one shot and allowed Catherine Ross to run a camera, which George Roy Hill just absolutely exploded. He just did not like that and fired one of the
why?
camp because I don't
Because
know if they
women
had
aren't
it back
allowed to
then,
work
but
the
it's
camera.
like yeah, it's a labor thing.
Uh,
It's a
it's a union thing.
union thing. That's what it is.
Okay, good.
I learned that the
Sorry,
hard way.
George.
I learned that the hard way when I did a music video and touched a camera and said, "Here,
And
this is
all
how I
hell
kind of
broke
wanted to
loose.
do." And the cinematographer is like, director of photography was like, "Yeah, don't do that ever again. Just tell me what
Okay,
you want, and I will do that. But you have to tell me."
understood.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Whoop, okay, sorry, didn't
Yeah,
know."
yeah.
But yeah, I kind of got read the right act. So yeah, yeah, they just didn't get along either. But they made the best of it. I mean, it comes out. There's a
Your thoughts on her uh,
portrayal.
portrayal of Etta Place. Who these were all real people, by the way. Etta
Yeah.
Place was a yeah.
Well, I don't know. There's her acting is great. I loved it. I thought it was
I agree.
yeah, I thought it was a great addition to kind of show what kind of these rugged men can kind of bounce off of, kind of brought them down a little bit and humanized them a little bit more, even though they're not portrayed as monsters, but at the same time, this is the old West. And so I think, there's elements of it was just a rougher time than it is now. I mean,
It was, but they weren't monsters in real
right,
life.
right. And there's a lot of I think for the portrayal, there's a lot of things too in history books that say like, and you might know this better than I because I think you've done the deeper dive of this, but you know, some say that she wasn't a school teacher. She was just one of the hookers that were in
That's right.
the house that,
Yes.
but who knows? And so yeah, she's a great addition to this movie, I think. And it,
And
the
Etta Place, yeah, and
go
Etta
ahead.
Place was a real. She was a businesswoman. She was
Yeah.
hugely intelligent. And they touch on that in this film where she's teaching them Spanish.
Yeah.
As much as they don't want to learn it, she's trying to teach them. She takes control when they get to Bolivia. She
Yeah.
takes over. She's the
Yeah.
boss.
Yeah. And I
And
think
I do
go
like
ahead.
that they wrote that in there. She was a tough lady in real life.
Yeah.
You could just Google. There's a Wikipedia page about Etta Place, and she's kind of a legend
Oh,
at
I
the
didn't know
time,
that.
1890s.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a boss, man.
Well, I think it's a great. I mean, for me, when I watch this movie, like when she leaves, like takes off from Bolivia, it's like, okay, that's the end of the movie. I mean, they're just that kind of writes their. There was no one there to regulate them. They were just
That's
like,
right. They go
but
back
when,
to doing old dumb
yeah,
shit again
and then when they try to go straight, they have to kill and
for
get
the
on.
first time.
Yeah, and
That's where
it's
their lives turn. That scene where they get robbed, and
mhm,
with Strother Martin as Percy. I'm colorful.
yeah,
We see, and who had worked with Paul Newman just a couple of years earlier on Cool Hand Luke. He was the boss.
mhm,
What we've got here is failure to communicate. He gives that great monologue that is then used by Guns N' Roses at the beginning of Civil War. That's where you heard his voice before.
yeah,
He's phenomenal in this. I love Strother Martin, and this is where like it's again another one of these movies where it's like this is like two movies.
Mhm. Oh yeah, yeah.
There's the US side, and then when they run, and there's actually almost like an intermission where it shows them on the steamer train and or on this a steamer boat, and then they're traveling, and it goes to all these quick cuts, and then next thing you know, they're in Bolivia and they're standing in a pig farm. This could be the garden spot of the whole.
Well, an interesting tidbit about that is that
Yes.
they had the studio had just built a new New York City set, and they were George Roy Hill wanted to use it, and they were like, "No, no, no, we're saving it for this movie, this other movie. You can't use it yet." And so George Roy Hill was like, "Okay, well then I'm just gonna have to." And this is what it's called being creative. When you run into a roadblock on set, it's like he had to redo the whole kind of that middle part you're talking about. So what they did was that they just used those old timey cameras and took pictures, and then took old pictures and then imposed them into those old pictures to make it look like they were part of this whole scene. And so that was creative. I thought that was really cool. And when you watch it, it's a good chunk of it's like 5 minutes. Well, I mean, it's probably even longer, right? It's a
Does it take you out of the experience, or
no, I don't think so. I mean, I think it kind of pulls me back, not back in like I was out, but it pulls me in even further because it has the music that plays in the background while all these photos are being shown, and it kind of tells you, you know, kind of they were more worldly than I thought they were, right? Because I always just thought it was just they were in Wyoming or wherever they were, and then they go to Bolivia. No, they went to New York. They, you know, took a
yeah,
steamer to where all these other places, and then they, you know, and back then you could take a train all the way down to Bolivia, so or wherever they were, but you could take. I mean, it was, you know, I like to see in these old westerns. I love to see how Mexico is portrayed because it's very. I think they pick the rugged parts of Mexico. I think
yes.
and make it really how it was like the old west, and it kind of shows you, I don't know, I don't want to get too political, but it just shows you kind of like what could have been if certain influences don't, you know, ruin it. But you know, it's such a great they film it beautifully in Mexico.
They do. You feel like you might be in Bolivia. I
Yeah,
don't know of anybody that's actually been to Bolivia.
yeah.
That's Central America, if I know my geography. And you're right. You could take a train. It was kind of a land without borders. Like
Yeah.
there, it was unclear where you were. Like at one point, even Butch says he strictly works in Oklahoma. Well, I don't know where we are, but I know we're not in Oklahoma. Like they have no
Yeah,
idea.
right. Yeah, because there's not. I mean, you don't really use maps all that much, and it's like, and if you do, it's like, well, where are the borders of this? And you know, when you're out riding a horse, it's like, well, all right, well, the sun's coming up over there, so that's the west or the east, and so you know, whatever
You could have
use
gone in a big circle.
right. So, anyways, yeah. So,
Really
oh
interesting
yeah,
in showing that part of it. But you're right. It is a spot in the movie where it's you grab a smoke right there and just watch where they stood for photos. The three of them, they're like this little family.
oh yeah, yeah,
The lines are a little blurry because whose girlfriend she's with Sundance, but when Butch and her are riding on the bike together during the raindrops
yeah.
scene, he's all Butch even tells her at the end, he's like, "What do you think? You know, what if it had ended up being me and you instead of you and him?"
Yeah.
And that's when Sundance comes out of the house, and he's like, "What's
What are
going
you
on?
doing?
What are you doing? I'm hitting on your girl. I'm stealing your girl." He's all, "Take her."
Well,
It's
I think
just
back at
like they've known
yeah.
each other forever.
Well, I think back at that time too. It's Aaron Sorkin was talking about this, and he was saying that back in those days, it was really understandable on how a woman could be attracted to these two people because at that time, I think women were really wanted to be attached to these kind of powerful men, powerful back in that on those days. So I think that was not uncommon to see back then. That's what he was saying.
Well, they're in the
And
newspaper all the time, right?
yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
famous.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, and I was going to say something about that. Oh, geez. Footer gut, old man brain. Anyways, let's go over some iconic scenes, man. There's lots of them
Yes.
in this one. The first one, like you brought up the beginning, the introduction to Sundance, or yeah, the Sundance Kid. At that one beginning where, like you said, he doesn't say anything at all. He gets accused of cheating, and they're gonna draw. But then Newman comes in and starts to be like, "Hey, man, let's go, let's go with this." All right, dude. All right, Sundance. I can't help you. And the other guy is like, holy shit. Like, this is Sundance Kid. Oh my God. I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know you were a Sundance Kid when I told you. I thought you cheated. And it just changes the dynamic.
Oh, 100%, because it's all one shot up to
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah. And you see it also shows the dynamic between the two, Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy, because it shows you how familiar they are with each other, that they can, he left. He went to, I don't know what he did. He went to go stake out a bank or something.
That's right.
And he comes back and he's like, all right. And he knows what's up. So he knows they know how to play off each other. So it shows you, that early scene shows you the power dynamic they have in their friendship, but then also the dynamic that they have against, people in general. And
they are a team.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah. What else you got? Do you have any?
Think alike.
Yeah.
The scene where they go back to the hole in the wall immediately after, it shows how hard it was to get to this place called the Hole in the Wall.
Yeah.
Which is a real place in Utah. It's way out east of Salt Lake. It's and
you actually camped there one summer, didn't you? I'm sorry.
Because it's impossible to get to, dude. You have to like go past this one tree and then around this corner. You have to ride your horse down the middle of the creek. It's hard to find.
Yeah.
And they get there, and Logan is taken over. And they're like, hey, where are you guys going? We're going to go rob the flyer, Butch. No, I told you guys. No trains. We hit banks. Banks, they stay in one place. You know where they are. You know where the money is. And Logan comes out, and he wants to take over the gang. And he's just all, you said anybody can challenge you. And Sundance is just all,
yeah.
But again, he's all, yeah, but I didn't think anybody was going to do it. So great. You're like, and the way he outsmarts a guy who's a good foot taller than him is so great. He's like, well, hang on. We got to go over the rules. Rules in a knife fight, kick to the balls. Well, since we won't be doing the rules, somebody count 1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, go. Knocks over. And that was the guy that played Lurch, right? In the Addams Family. Yeah, that
is Ted Cassidy.
Yeah.
Plays Harvey Logan.
And then the flat nose is in The Sting.
Yes, that's Charles Deercop.
Yeah, and he plays a big part in The Sting as well. And yeah, you got to see The Sting again, man. You got to watch that movie.
I really do, because there's so many. They're all interconnected. It's almost like they're all kind of from the same view askew-averse.
Yeah, right.
Scott Taylor. I know you're listening out there, my guy. So yeah, those two. So that's kind of Act 1, and then what I like what Butch does in that, and it's such great character development. He goes, now tell me again about the flyer. He knocks out Logan, and he goes, and then all the rest of the gang's just all, we were all counting on you. We were all rooting for you there. He goes, now tell me about the flyer. He goes, well, we figure we're going to hit it on the way there and on the way back. Nobody's ever done that. And he goes, Logan thought of that? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, that's what we're going to do. And that sets the whole action of the movie. Yeah. Now we've got a job to do. We go and meet Woodcock, who works for E.H. Harriman of the Union Pacific Railroad. And I was like, how is this connected to today? How do I look at 1890 and 2025 and connect these two? What is it? What are the significance? And what we learn about chairman of the Union Pacific Railroad is that he's willing to spend his entire fortune to kill Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah.
And Butch is like, at one point, well, if he just pay me what I was robbing him, I wouldn't have to rob him. And he learns that this is a foe. They learn that this is a foe that's not going to be beat. You're trying to fight City Hall. I mean,
Right.
or you're trying to fight the Union Pacific Railroad in 1890. This is the Google.
Right.
This is the Tesla. These are the billionaire class. And I'm going to wipe you out because I can, and you're annoying me.
Yes.
And I don't care
Yes.
what it costs me.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying to them. That's the reason why they end up leaving for Bolivia. We got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
This guy's never going to stop.
And you kind of over the course of the film, you see that wearing on them, that they just can't, like, they know, you know, they're never going to stop looking at it. And toward the end, when they're having dinner and he sees that white hat, someone wearing that white hat, and they freak out.
They do.
It just kind of triggers them. It was just like, and you know, the whole thing about robbing banks in Bolivia and then having the Bolivian army on their tail. That's just, you know,
that's their worry before they go out. Like, hang on, did you see LaFours out there? No, they're 1,000 miles away from LaFours, right? They've run pretty far away.
Yeah.
But the last thing they're worried about is LaFours, because it's never going to leave their mind. It's
I thought we were going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I thought we were in trouble for a second there. It's so good. Like the future is coming. You guys, your times is over, as the sheriff tells them, and it's just all you get to choose is where.
Yeah.
That's all you got left, and it's a very much of the times are changing, and you need to adapt to the new world.
Yeah. And you know, this film kind of ushers in that sentiment even by this film does, you know, like we were saying in the beginning of this pod, it's like this kind of film is ushering in a new way of filmmaking. And so in a lot of ways, that theme runs through a lot of things, you know.
Well, and I think George Roy Hill, in his paranoia after it was released, felt like Butch Cassidy in that, have I not learned anything from my own work?
Yeah. Right.
Like, my times is over. The times of these Westerns is over. And the people were like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Again, is it a Western? Is it a buddy film? Is it a comedy? It zags. And it fills all these different, you know, just places that you'd never been before.
Yeah. And, you know, it kind of, not only that, but it shoots off the buddy comedy thing too, right? I mean,
it really does.
You see a lot of Lethal Weapon in this. You see a lot of, like,
yes,
Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. You just switch out the horses for the motorcycles, you know? So it's like, you see a lot of this now. It's been overdone, but this was kind of, I think, the original kind of I mean, you've seen it before, Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, but
sure, yeah, very much kind of, Odd Couple and going on here.
So this is kind of like the kickoff in a wider spectrum, I feel like, and you know, it's just it's kind of like the beginning of a lot of things. Like I said before, like it's beginning of kind of this subverting expectations in filmmaking and in genre, like a Western, or doing it like in the 70s, you know, The Godfather, and how he wanted to, Coppola was making it more of a Shakespearean thing. And, you know, so you had these really kind of different approaches to making these genre pictures. It's, you know, this is the beginning of all this, and Easy Rider and all these other films. They're kind of Bonnie and Clyde, you know, 2 years earlier, just kind of kicks it off.
That's why they wanted Warren Beatty, is because of Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
Because that's a buddy movie, but they're also a couple.
Yeah.
They're super dangerous.
Yeah.
And you don't expect it.
Well, and they explore themes in that movie that films didn't. You know, they had sex in that movie, or sexual kind of themes in that movie, sexual inadequacy and all this other stuff in that movie. That I think there was, in that Decade Under the Influence, they were showing Jack Warner, you know, the final cut of it in his house, and he's just like, well, I hope you like it, and he's just like, well, you'll know if I don't, because I'll get up to pee And if I get up to pee, you know that this is a stinker. And sure enough, 10 minutes in the film, he gets up and he starts peeing. 10 minutes later, he gets up and pees again. And at the end, he's just like, what the hell kind of movie is this? And Warren Beatty was like, this is kind of like a homage to like, the Jimmy Cagney and all them. He's like, that's great. What's a homage? So it's just like, it was just lost on this kind of way of movie making where you had actors under contract and you had directors under contract and they all worked under one studio and you can rent them out, but ultimately they were yours and you had them on contract, where that was all done away with. So now you had this interchangeability of writers, directors, and I feel like that's where this movie kind of exceeds, and this is kind of the ultimate example of when you have great actors, great writers, and a great director and a great cinematographer, you're just able to kind of paint this beautiful picture, whatever it is, and you have a higher chance of making this great, great movie and making your money back in terms of like the parlance of the times and of like, making your money back, so yeah.
That's really interesting that you mentioned the contract actors, because I don't know how much that's a thing today. Jamie Lee Curtis talked about contract acting on Mark Maron's podcast earlier this week. And I'm sure I probably heard that at some point, but she talked about just what happens is if you make it big in one of these and then you're under contract, they still have you for this rookie year salary, and then you have to still make the next four movies that your contract says. And I think what Redford didn't like that. Like, he wanted to give everybody else a voice,
Mm-hmm.
especially people who have grew up on this land for thousands of years and who didn't make movies. All they did was tell stories talking about the First Nations people. And he said, I'm going to create a space where anybody, independent, not just indigenous peoples, but Black directors, Black storytellers, Latino storytellers, who's female storytellers, who's not. Why is it the same why are we listening to 20th Century Fox to tell
Right.
us what the people want? Why are we
Yeah.
listening to Paramount to let people, and you have a guy like that who kind of creates the independent. We wouldn't have Tarantino films if it weren't for Robert Redford to usher this in.
Yeah.
And when he accepted his Lifetime Achievement Award in 2002, it was freaking deadly quiet. I watched his acceptance speech last night, and he was talking about independent voices. And everybody in the room, this is less than 25 years ago, nobody knew what to do. You could hear a pin drop in this room. Like, one person in the back saw, yeah, oh. It was really awkward to watch him, and he's awkward as it is because he's a super shy guy and doesn't want the spotlight on him. And he goes, I understand that's kind of weird being an actor, but I really, really no interest in being up here on the stage talking to you guys. His mouth was like really dry. You could hear him like he had no moisture in his head. He not want to be up here. He doesn't want to be in this tuxedo. I just and we're introduced to him in this film, and just how important that really is and how much he's going to be missed. And he said at the end of his 2002 Lifetime Achievement Award, I hope to I hope to be able to continue telling my stories for a long time. He would go on for another almost 25 years.
Yeah. I
I don't
think
think he expected to live to 2025. He was
well,
kind of saying goodbye to everybody. You're a Lifetime Achievement Award when you're 60? Come on.
yeah. Well, I think, that was around the time of Spy Games too. That was a really good movie with Brad Pitt, and he had
So
directed.
he directed that, and A River Runs Through It with Brad Pitt. I think
Well,
one
he
of his
didn't direct
first
Spy
movies.
Games, but he directed River Runs Through It, which is one of my
Yes.
favorite movies.
Yes.
If I can just speak on that,
Go ahead.
in terms of his legacy, is like, I think, he was able, the novella that's based on is such a poetic. I mean, Norman Mailer's, or Norman Mailer. Norman McLean is such a beautiful writer. If you've ever read that book, it's so poetic, and he has such a way with words that just paints a beautiful picture
Yeah.
of his upbringing, and I think it was around post World War I and to the Depression. I think around the time that
Hmm.
that was based on. And Newman Redford was able to take that and make a beautiful movie, and his narration in that movie too
It's great.
is fantastic. But I think that movie, the way it was shot, the choices that the actors were making in that, I don't know, it just touched me. And when I go, anytime I'm hiking or anytime I'm kind of camping or anything like that, I think of this movie just because it was able to kind of place such an importance on nature and
Yes.
the role that it has in our lives. I'm not really a religious person, but this father is a Presbyterian, preacher, and you know, kind of compares fly fishing in particular, to Jesus and the way he's able to relate all of this to fishing, all the religious stuff to fishing. It's you can think of whatever you want about religion, but I think what nature does is that it brings us together, and it lets you know, especially the last like monologue that Redford has in that as the film ends is some of the most beautiful dialogue narration that I've ever heard in a film. And it's just touching, it lets you know that you can be of whatever persuasion of life or whatever however you look at life, but nature is something that really kind of brings us all together. And to actively destroy it or actively try to manipulate it or harm it, it just lets you know that you're harming yourself as well, so that's my little tidbit on Redford. And yeah, he was a beautiful beautiful artist, and I'll miss him. And it really hurt, it really touched me. I mean, all death does, but I think when you're in the arts and when you're in, for me, it just kind of hits me a little bit harder. Yeah. RIP, man.
His 100%. His activism in that Provo Canyon where Sundance is, he stopped Southern California Edison from building a smelter, a hydroelectric
Hmm.
plant in that valley, and it was so appreciated. And he did it because he thought it was the right thing to do. And he's like, "Listen, I don't want to pull rank on you here, but this is important." And it meant so much to the ancestors of that land that he was gifted this blanket that was woven in like 1830 that he had on his wall in his house. It's like 25 feet long by 8 feet, all hand woven by the Utes. And the dark pattern that's in this, you can Google this. The dark pattern that's in this is not a color that existed at the time when this blanket was woven. It's actually made from the cavalry soldiers who were defeated by in a battle, and there's bullet holes in it and blood on it, and it's at the time he's given this blanket, it's 150 years old, and it's a living history, and he's got it as the centerpiece in his house. And I'm just thinking, if you are a spiritual person and you are, how haunted is this blanket? Some people, I was just like, he walks past this and just appreciates it, and his ability to walk among something as symbolic as this and so powerful, just how much he knew in his heart that he was walking his path the right way. I'm in awe of that.
Well, yeah, I think what's kind of missing from today is it's your intuition about things, and what and recognizing kind of where you come from. And you can come from anywhere, but the idea that we're all kind of sharing this rock and space,
Yeah.
that it's like, we have to, you're born on a planet of 7-8 billion people. It's like, regardless of how you feel about people, you have to learn how to live with each other. You have to learn how to take care of each other and be empathetic to people. Because that's just, I think if you're an isolationist of any kind, and and but you live in the US, 350 million people. It's like you're just playing a losing game, you know. I mean, not in the sense of like, well, then we'll kill you, but it's more of like you're making it harder for yourself, dude. You know, to not like people and to like and to push alienate people and to it's just a losing battle. You know, you'll never win that game. And you know, I think again going back to the whole nature thing, which he championed. You know, he was a big
Yes.
activist with that. I think he what essentially what he was saying with that movies like this and his activism and you know that speech you were talking about is like we just have to learn how to live together, you know, and love not you know maybe you don't have to love your neighbor, but you have to be you know kind. You have to look out for them. You know because they're you know it's I just think that you know again what you put out in the world it's gonna come back to you. So I don't know.
I mean,
It's
there's a lot of this main character syndrome that I feel like us as Americans really kind of walk through life. Kind
yeah
of, it's easy to fall into that.
yeah
The world revolves around me, and
yeah.
especially with you can get into the computer world and live your life as you know that version or several different versions of yourself. But getting back to nature with in Monument Valley in Utah, where this film is shot, and fly fishing and a river runs through it, and just letting it be quiet and listening, because there's a lot of that in a river runs through it where there's minutes go by and nobody's saying anything,
Well it's
and by not
yeah
saying anything, they're saying so much.
well yeah it's about the rhythm like in that movie he's teaching his kids the rhythm. He says that on a 10 and a 2,
Right.
and there's a rhythm. And that whole movie, he's telling his kids, and he's relating it to God, but you can relate it to nature, whatever you want to, whatever you believe
Yeah.
in. But it's that rhythm of life. And I think the people that can kind of get to where they need to go they listen to that rhythm and they allow that rhythm to kind of dictate. Now that means you have to be vulnerable, and I think in this day and age, vulnerability is kind of seen as a weakness. But you have to be able to hear it, and to hear it, you have to listen. And I think you know that it's a lot of things of I need to do this, I need to be this, I need to do this, I need to prove this, I need to do this so much today and age that it there's a lot of background noise. And I think you know, and to your point about the activism and the scenery in these movies, and you don't even have to get that big. Go grow a garden or grow a plant in your backyard.
Touch
Just
grass.
the idea of kind of nurturing something and kind of growing something out of you know out of the ground using the ground and you know I don't want to get too hokey pokey, but it's kind of like this idea of displacing your ego and allowing yourself to kind of nurture things and
Right.
to allow things to grow. Maybe it doesn't grow the way you want, maybe it doesn't have the yields that you want, but you're learning next year will be better. And I think people have gotten away from that for so long that we're now just like keyboard warriors. And it's just like okay, well that's good for anger, but you know, what about the good stuff?
Have you ever had a panic attack?
Jesus, I'm the king of
Okay.
them. Not lately, but I used to that used to rule my life. Yeah.
It's it's uh they're scary. They can be really, really scary. Like, why is my heart racing? I can't stop. Why can't this what this the and the snowballs coming down the mountain, and you're thinking all the things like tomorrow I gotta do, and like it's uh I don't have them very often. I had one last night thinking
Oh,
about I'm like, I gotta get to sleep. We got the podcast and where I laid there for like 2 hours last night, and I'm like, damn it, I'm having a panic attack. This and they come at inconvenient times.
yeah. You
I
know,
mean, whatever triggers it. But I'm like, I'm having so much fun. Tomorrow morning, I get to record my podcast, and then I'm going to see my family on Sunday. I'm going to play 9 holes of golf that morning, and then I'm going to see a concert on Saturday, and then I'm going to see that. I'm like, oh, I've got all this great stuff, but I can't breathe.
Yeah.
I can't
I can't
breathe. Hang
breathe.
on.
I can't breathe. Well, I think,
And yeah,
yeah,
you
go
know,
ahead.
whether it's just looking at the Monument Valley, Utah, or fly fishing, or guys like Robert Redford. I mean, he probably had a panic attack once or twice, but or maybe he had them all the time. He probably had one except in that damn 2002 Lifetime Achievement Award because he did not want to be there for sure.
Yeah.
Like, this is the
Yeah.
last place I want to be. Yeah,
Well, panic
it's
attacks are just I think it's our nervous system that's just not healed from whatever it is that we're reeling from. I think for me, up until 21, that my life was just ruled by panic attacks, and it was
damn it.
me just trying to maintain through it. And but it was my nervous system, being in fight or flight, and I was always in fight or flight, always, until I kind of healed my. And this it's different for everybody, but I mean, for me, it was I was able to go back and heal some stuff in my life that now I I rarely have them, and when I
Good.
do, I can kind of for me, it's just about being mindful. When I have them, listen to some music, listen to everything, listen to the music, but just be present. Oh, that was a good bass lick. Oh, the bass. Oh, yeah, I could feel that bass, and just get lost in that process. For
Nice.
me, that
Good.
helps. I mean, I don't
Good.
know. It could be different for everybody, but yeah, panic attacks are no joke, man. And it's surprising for me to look back and be like, Jesus, like, how did I even handle my stuff? How did I
Yeah.
even have a semblance of a life when, like, every hour I would have one, or every, day I would have to deal with one, and it would last a couple days, and whatever.
Goodness
It's
gracious.
just my
It
body.
feels
It's
like
just
it.
my body. Yeah, it's just my body thinking that this is normal. This is normal, and it's not.
I
So
feel like the machine is sucking years of my life away. In Christopher Guest is underground, and I'm Carrie
not
Elwes,
50.
and not the 50. The being present, we get this in other places. With a river runs through it. It's the fly fishing in Karate Kid. It's wax on, wax off. What's another one that I was thinking? There's this comes up quite a bit in different themes in movies in
Yeah,
filmmaking. It's
yeah,
a
yeah,
way
yeah,
to
yeah,
tell the story. Like the Legend of Bagger Vance is the Bhagavad Gita.
yeah.
It's you don't realize you're being preached to in
Or
a
the way it's
way.
framed. Yeah, the way it's framed. Yeah.
It's
Excuse me.
not tricking you. It's just how about you look at it through this set of eyes.
Yeah.
And that really it's an escape in that way. And this movie was definitely an escape. LaFours with the white skimmer hat, I remembered in Mallrats, when we did Mallrats, that the security guard was LaFours, and I'm like, I feel like this guy is an homage that Kevin Smith does to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I went back and listened to that episode, and then of course I Googled it afterwards, and Kevin Smith was like, "Of course it's from Butch Cassidy."
Yeah.
And this, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, okay, subtle as a sledgehammer, my guy." And he represents death in this, and he's chasing you, and he's never going to stop. You can't run away. You can't run away from death, right?
You just have to know
And this is
where.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could try. I mean,
Yeah.
what we're seeing now with shows like, I'm not sure if you're watching Alien Earth
Yeah, I am.
on where they're trying to live forever. This is a way to try to live forever. I was thinking that what's the one with Adam Scott where
Severance.
Severance is a way to try to live forever. I mean, this is the goal, right? Like, if you have all the money in the world and you know that in 20 years I'm going to keel over and all that money, like, I build the biggest pile. I am Scrooge McDuck and I want to swim in my gold coins, but I need to keep it. I have to cheat death, right? I
Hmm.
mean, we talked about this in The Devil's Advocate last week. There is no escaping. You can do all you want. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with this. Movies are a great way to kind of show you the flaw in that thinking.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have this billionaire now who's, I don't know what he's doing. He's like blood transfusions or something, but he's like 40 in his 40s, but he looks like he's 20. You ever heard of this guy? And he just does all these things to kind of youth. It's not necessarily living forever, but I think people love the idea of youth, and I get it because when I look in the mirror now, I see the triple chin and the fourple chin, actually not triple, but fourple. And
Stop.
I see the gray hair, and it's just like I don't feel this. I don't feel 51. I still feel like 30. Like I did when I was 30, and it's this idea of like seeing your old loved ones kind of getting older and
Right.
realizing that it's we're all headed there. And
Yeah. You're
what are you
still
doing?
Gordy walking down the
Yeah,
tracks.
exactly.
And faced with our mortality, this is the theme for season 3 of Gonna See My Friends. Is we're gonna find a way to turn this into talking about our talking about death. Here's another
Yeah.
show about death.
You already let's get back to this. You already said you're
Yeah.
Clay Thompson, right? Which
Yes.
was who was
It's
it again? So,
Sheriff Ray.
yeah, the guy that yeah.
Damn it.
Oh, the sheriff. Is that what you were talking about?
Sheriff
Sheriff
Ray
Bledsoe,
Bledsoe.
Jeff Corey.
You're gonna die, buddy.
Yeah. Mine was Strother Martin.
Mm-hmm.
That was he kind of lit up the screen for me, and he reminded me of that one old guy from Jeremiah Johnson, who he
Nice.
find that trapper that he finds,
Yeah.
and he reminds me of kind of that character where kind of hey, you shouldn't be so serious all the time. You got to find, he just reminds me on this. He kind of played, or it's kind of that same character. So for me, it kind of lit up the story there. Kind of gave it like, oh, I guess the guys are going legit. Trying to find good jobs, and he gets it. Too bad, but yeah, yeah.
He
So
has some of the greatest lines in this
oh yeah,
movie. And let me get to my quotes. Morons. I got morons on my team.
I'm not
Nobody is
crazy.
going to rob us going down the mountain. We have no money going down the mountain. When we've got the money on the way back, then you can sweat.
I'm not crazy. I'm just colorful.
I'm just colorful. You've been living in Bolivia by yourself for 10 years. You turn colorful.
Yeah, that's my
He's
next
riding
one.
an old mule.
Right when he gets shot, yeah, man.
Yeah,
And
God.
then
And Sundance looks at his dead body and he's like hurt by this. He's
yeah,
deeply impacted by Percy Garris is his character's name.
yeah,
And he's very strongly affected by it. I mean, half the Hole in the Wall gang got shot by, hey, they're very good. I mean, half his friends just died and couldn't give two shits, but he sees Percy laying there and he's just all, I mean, they close up on his face and he's looking at the dead body and he's like, I love that choice by George Roy Hill to really focus on Sundance where he is scared.
yeah. It hits
And
home. It's
we're going to
like,
die.
yeah, it's kind of like when people realize, or in movies, anyways, when people realize the kind of folly of it all, right, and
Yeah.
they kind of realize, oh, okay, I got to get back on the right track here. But you've already written your book, and you've already written kind of the story of yours, and it's always going to happen. It's only going to end one way. You can't get out of that ending. And I think that's what hits Sundance is like he starts to think, oh yeah, like the fun is over. Like the fun, like the sheriff said, the fun is over. Like we're that guy. We're this guy that just got shot. That's us. And so yeah,
He gets
that's
pissed. He
yeah,
gets pissed to the point where they throw the money. Okay, take it, banditos. And then they circle back around, and while the banditos are splitting up the money,
yeah,
the head of the banditos looks up, and Butch and Sundance are standing on the hill. They got the high ground,
yeah,
and they know this is about our lives are about to take a turn. Butch has never shot anybody before, much less murdered anybody. You're about to see us murder these guys.
yeah,
And they switch. The two of them become, and it's one of the only slow motion scenes when he's telling Butch, take the 2 on the right.
Yeah.
There's 6 guys. Sundance is like, I got these 4. You take
you
those
take those
2.
two. Kid, there's something ought to tell you. I've never shot anybody before. One
Well,
hell of a time to tell me.
It gets really real for both of them. And now their lives will never be the same. Now they're murderers, but they're avenging Percy's death.
Right.
Like, I think normally they wouldn't, you don't see Sundances, and these aren't cold-blooded killers. They're not what they were known to be. They become, now they're completely different characters in this. That's where the whole thing changes, and you're like, am I still with these guys at this point? Because I was loving their bickering back and forth for the last hour and a half, but now they just murdered 6 guys.
Well, I think I am, but it turns in the sense, for me, it turns in like, it becomes a movie, or it becomes a story about just facing your own mortality, of understanding the consequences of your actions, of living a life like this. And this is we all kind of what we've been talking about the last couple of podcasts. This is where we're all headed in one way or another. And I think the sheriff's words kind of come back to haunt him, of like, oh, he was right. There's no way out from this except for where we're going to die. It isn't that we have a choice about it. And so, I think that for me, that they kind of understand it now after that. And, and it's like, you want to, in real life, Redford, he dies in his sleep, and it's like this thing of, oh, that's great, but you don't always get to choose where that happens. And so I think, I don't know, it's just,
did he die in his sleep?
I think that's what I read, but that's just what I read. I don't know if that's true or not, but
that's perfect, man.
Yeah. It's like the whole Rose from the Titanic, just just kicking off when you're sleeping. That's the way to go, man.
That's funny. That reminds me that old joke. I want to go the way my grandfather went in his sleep, not screaming like the passengers in his car. Sorry.
That's a great one.
I think my grandfather told me that joke.
Okay. Well, I think, let's wrap this up. You got any final thoughts?
I do. Hagadaga.
Saturday.
I don't. Damn, dude. I don't think I have any final thoughts. I love you. I love this podcast. I really look forward. This is like going to church. So, and thanks to everybody for listening. Send us a, and Hezekiah hit us back again. I forgot to mention that. Yeah. He said, good job. So I'll pass that along to you.
Tell him to churn the butter. Make sure he's churning that butter.
We're doing a barn raising later. You're welcome to come. Sure. Fine joinery going on this barn. They use no nails, as it turns out.
Well, I think this is a great movie. And I love you too, man. I love this podcast as well. I think we're kind of turning a corner here. And I can't wait to hit some other great movies in the weeks to come. It's just a great time. And, so
it's a great Saturday morning hang for the two of us.
Yeah. And so I hope everybody that was listening or watching had a great time. Toby, I had a great time. And hopefully, put in the comments what you thought about the movie, what your thoughts about death and life and all in between. And hit us up, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.